2:55, a little more Jimmy Buffett here on this Friday afternoon. This is Jammer Radio on Talk Radio 102.3. Used to have one of those pencil-thin mustaches. Ben is on the phone. Ben Cagle, how are you?
Hello, Chip. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I can't complain.
We've been here talking about the 50th anniversary of WDEF television, and of course, you were a very instrumental part of that, being part of the management team back in the glory day, back in the 70s, and you were down at the morning show today talking with Rachel and me about the 50th anniversary. And as near as I can figure it, Ben, by looking at you now, you must have started general managing when you were 14.
I think I was 35.
Were you really?
Yeah, 35, 36.
Now, let's put this in perspective for the folks who may not be aware of exactly at what era you were in at Channel 12. You were the guy who actually, you were there for the end of the Harry Thornton era.
Yeah, I think I went to work there in May of 74 and left in December of 85.
What was it like for you when you walked back in the building today? And you haven't been there in a long time, obviously.
No, memories all over the place. It's golly, it's hard to say. We had so much fun. The biggest thing I was afraid of is that someone was going to find out that we were having so much fun there, we were going to quit getting paid.
You guys did have a lot of fun there, by all accounts.
Yeah. We would do commercials. In those days, the salespeople, they would sit around there. I got a new client here up in Cleveland or wherever, and
right.
I need an idea. And we would all jam and get together and come up with different ideas, for the sales. So it was a whole different way of doing things. And
unlike a lot of people in management, not just in radio or television, but you actually came from the ranks. You were there. A lot of general managers have just done the sales thing and that's it. Yeah. You actually worked the cameras. You did everything. Cecil
Ruffin hired me, and I remember I was sitting in there talking to him on the first time that I interviewed there with him, and Cecil was an ex-Marine type guy, real tough and kind of an intimidating type guy, and he looked at me and he says, okay, Cagle, so why should I hire you? I've got 50 people here, and he pointed to 50 applications on his desk, and he said, why should I hire you over these people? And I said, well, because, number one, no one's going to work any harder for you than I am. Number two, I want to work here. Give me a shot at it. Uh-huh. One day, my goal is to run this place. And he had a long pause, and he says, see you Monday at 8.
Really?
So that's the way we had so much fun there in that building. I remember Mort Lloyd came back. Mort was a good friend of my family, and he came back to my office there. I went to work in May of 74, right before his plane crash. The last time that I talked to Mort Lloyd, he came back to my office there, and Mort had a dry sense of humor.
He really did, didn't he?
He was really funny.
And he had a voice that was just absolutely incredible.
Well, he came back to my office there, and he says, of course, he'd known me since I was 13, and he says, well, Benny, we're glad to have you on the team. And I said, I need to get Mort off to the right foot here. I said, I got up, closed the door. I said, look, Mort, if you don't mind, I don't go by Benny anymore. I hate that name. Ben, if you don't mind. And he goes through the whole 9 yards. He says, well, you're an adult now. I understand. I can see how you would want to be called Ben instead of Benny. Okay, let me give you my assurance that in the future I'll take that into consideration. He goes through this whole 9 yards.
Right.
He gets up. My, it's late. I'm busy. So he gets up, walks all the way down the hallway at Channel 12, and as he goes around the corner, Benny.
Sounds
rat.
I guess you had to. Well, I understand how the relationship was between you and Mort. Tell you what, can you hang on through the break? We want to talk to you about a couple of other things. Are you out? Are you at home?
I'm at home.
Are you? Well, I was going to say hop in the car and come down here, but we'll just hold you on through the break.
Yeah, sure.
We'll talk to you on the phone with Ben Cagle, former general manager at WDEF-TV. News 12 back in the 70s, and we're going to talk with some other folks too. And we'd like to talk with you. We'd like to hear your thoughts on the first 50 years of WDEF, as well as the great city of Chattanooga. 267-1023. We're in for a break at the top of the hour. We're back with more of Jammer Radio on Talk Radio 102.3. A couple of weeks, we have been celebrating the 50th anniversary of WDEF television, and former general manager Ben Cagle is gracious enough to call in and share a few of his stories with us. Ben, thanks so much for holding on during the break.
Oh, glad to.
I want to talk about some of the things that happened at Channel 12 that maybe, or are there some things or some people that you're most proud of that you brought in that came in under your wings and have gone on to...
Oh, golly. That would be a few. One lady named Debbie Driggins comes to mind. I think she just graduated from UTC, and we had a sales position open. And I like enthusiasm.
Sure.
And this lady, she wanted that job so bad in the sales department there. And she called and called and called and called. And I said, golly, I like this lady. She's going to really go places. And I'm going to tell you, she just did an outstanding job. I think she's still in Nashville now. She's one of the stations over there, been over there for a few years. I don't think they could run her out of Nashville. She left. But that's a good feeling to give someone a start like that and watch them do well.
Well, now, you could have hired me, Ben. You could have hired me.
There were so many people.
You probably didn't hire high school kids back then, though, did you?
Well, if they had the talent, and I felt like they could do the job and enthusiasm, and this, as an example, there were several like that. Well, look at Debbie Baer. I didn't hire her, but I know Ray White hired her.
Right.
Because I remember him saying, golly, she is just so much energy.
Right.
She just comes through the screen there, and it showed. And the public, they didn't really care that she didn't have a lot of experience. They said, she had that type of personality where, hey, I'm doing the best I can. Bear with me here. And the city of Chattanooga and surrounding area, they loved her for it because she was honest and open, and that came through on the screen.
I think in radio, television, movies, music, what have you, there are some people who have this mysterious, elusive thing that everybody else wishes they had.
Debbie has that and has that.
She does.
I saw her on the anniversary show.
And that thing is called It, and Debbie certainly had and has it.
Yeah.
What as a guy who's been in broadcasting for most of his life, what did you think of the show?
I thought you guys did a good job with it. Did a great job, as a matter of fact. There was so much talent down at that TV station. I found myself overwhelmed, quite frankly, just to be there with that much talent. Neil Miller, he was featured on there.
Mm-hmm.
That guy has more talent in one fingernail than most people have in their whole bodies. He's an extremely talented person. Bill Bradley, I noticed, in a 1-hour show, you really can't get 50 years in. It's impossible, but there were so many people there that played an integral part of that TV station. Bill was in the film department. He helped the salespeople in his own quiet way. Bill Bradley, kept the revenue coming in there.
Right.
And Bill didn't get a lot of accolades, but he I think Bill passed away here a year and a half or 2 years ago.
I think you're right.
There were so many people that they were behind the scenes. They weren't in front of the camera or on the microphone. There were so many people like Bill Bradley that did the job. They were there doing the job.
One guy we got to talk about, and you and I got the opportunity to talk about him a little bit earlier today on News 12 this morning, and that being Harry Thornton.
Yeah. Harry was just family to me. And when he passed away, it was one of the hardest things that I've ever had to deal with. Harry was just an incredible human being. We would go to Arkansas on duck hunts together, and he told me before he told anyone else there that he was going to retire. He had a health problem. Right. And I was on his last show there with Luther, and right before he signed off for good, that was a hard thing for him. And I mentioned there this morning, he got up, and Harry, he didn't show a lot of emotion. He tried not to anyway, but he got up and walked back behind he took a break and went back to the curtain there and really turned it loose. He really cried. And I know because I was with him. I followed him back there, and we both did. I think he cried because he was having to give up something that he loved because of health reasons. A lot of people at that time didn't know that his health was that bad. And I guess it got to me because I knew, that I was losing a good friend.
He certainly was an icon, a very memorable guy throughout the years at WDEF.
And it was hard for Harry to show emotion. Harry would come to me and he would say, "That Cagle, I love him. One fella's not supposed to love another, but I love him." He was. I said, "Harry, I love you too. I love you too." He was just kind of the old school in some ways. It was so hard for him to show emotion, but he was a heck of a guy. He was just like a member of my family. And I mentioned there this morning on the tractor thing. The guy who else would the interstate almost closed down, snow and ice. I'm going in to direct the morning show. Is he going to make it? Oh my gosh! Harry's got a new Lincoln Continental. That thing won't travel on the interstate with ice. I know it's not a 4-wheel drive, and so he takes the tractor in from Ringgold, Georgia. I pull into the Channel 12 parking lot, and there's a tractor, and I said, "Harry, there's a tractor. Is that your?" He says, "Cagle, when the red light comes on, Harry Thornton will be in the catbird seat. Can't stand these people that can't be at work on time. Got no use for them." And that's the way he was. And I don't think he was ever late for anything.
He always had a reputation of being very prompt. And, of course, he in talking with some of the guys who have done some wrestling with him, who did some wrestling with him over the years, and Harry could be kind of gruff and he could be kind of a hard nose about a lot of things, but
Harry Thornton was one of the nicest people that I've ever met.
He attracted loyalty.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I was thinking, today, I guess this thing has made me think this week, I've been so fortunate to have met so many artists in my type of business, country artists, rock and roll artists. And the Channel 12 gave me an opportunity to meet so many wonderful people, artists. But I was thinking today, one of the most influential people I think I've ever met in my life wasn't the big country artist, worldwide famous, or it was a little simple country girl from Nashville. And her name was Sarah Cannon.
Wow.
She sat in my office one morning. I was in there doing budgets. I was getting ready to go to New York. And she was in there to do an interview with Harry Thornton. And I stuck my head over the railing there, and I said, "Howdy." And she yelled back up, "Howdy." And her husband, Henry, was with her. And I asked her to come up and have some coffee with me. And we sat up there for about 15 minutes drinking coffee. And she told me about the time that when she first went on the Grand Ole Opry and how, she was so afraid. She said, "Mr. Cagle, my hands are water running off the end of my fingertips." And I told the fellow at that time, I cannot go on stage and do the Grand Ole Opry. I cannot do it. I cannot walk out there. And so he grabbed me and put his arm around me, took me on back behind the curtain, and he said, "Little lady, I want you to know one thing. It's very important, and I want to tell this to you one time because a lot of people don't know. When you walk out on the stage, all you have to do is love them, and they love you right back." And she said, "I've been loving them ever since, and they've been loving me right back." So,
wow.
So that was an important, to hear her tell that story one-on-one was an incredible, and I think it had a big impression on me.
And, of course,
she was a giving person.
And she had $1 million smile.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people may not know her. You referred to as Sarah Cannon. Most of America referred to her as Minnie Pearl.
Yeah.
Ben, it's been fun revisiting with you both earlier this morning and this afternoon. I thank you for the call so much.
Chip, it's been a real pleasure.
We will talk again soon.
All right.
18 minutes after 3 o'clock, we have been speaking about the 50th anniversary of WDEF-TV 12, and we talked with Larry Moondog Cheatham a little bit earlier. We got one of his co-wrestlers, I think, that's calling in now, and this is Pat Rose. Pat, you there?
What's going on, Chipper?
How you doing there, big man?
Brother, let me tell you something. Listening to what you just had, what do you want me for, brother? I can't follow that.
Yeah, you can.
Minnie Pearl, Harry Thornton, what's up, buddy?